Hello and welcome, I'm Marina Kim and here is the latest news from Kazakhstan. 13 escaped convicts of the Aktau maximum security prison remain on the run. The Kazakh Justice Minister warns that the criminals are possibly armed with guns and explosives. Security measures have been tightened at all strategic facilities and the city of Aktau is being actively patrolled. Meanwhile, in the Mangistau region, the authorities launched an operation codenamed Siren, which is functioning for already 2 days. This escape is already considered one of the most daring in the history of Kazakhstan penitentiary system, while the families of the convicts will remember it as the most tragic. The morning of June 22nd, 21 convicts of the Aktau prison 172/1 attempted to escape the colony during a temporary power outage. Kazakh Interior Ministry claims that inmates received some support from unidentified people armed with guns who opened fire at guards. One officer was wounded and 3 convicts died as a result. 3 others were killed by the Special Force unit of the police 13 kilometers from the prison, where the escapers tried to hide. The police found large amounts of ammunition, including handmade explosives and 16 bottles of Molotov cocktail.
We are investigating this at the moment. Can you explain how it is possible that 20 people could escape and none of your employees noticed it, while it is almost impossible to even bring sugar through the checkpoint during prisoner visits? Everything is very obvious. At least show us our children.
Officials confirmed that 7 convicts were killed during the escape. The police in the neighboring Atarau region are alerted and the security is tightened due to the situation. These events clearly show the weakness of the law enforcement bodies of Kazakhstan. This was concluded by Russian experts during a roundtable in Moscow attended by human rights activists, Russian MIA representatives and other related parties. The Aktau prison escape could have been avoided, says Valery Gabisov, the leader of the Law Enforcement Bodies Humanization Association. He has studied the situation with tortures in penitentiary institutions across the ex-Soviet countries for 20 years. According to him, the situation in Kazakhstan has worsened lately. The number of cases when the testimonies received as a result of tortures is increasing. The head of the prison and prosecutor must be held responsible for the escape.
I assure you, had the prosecutor actually did his job, all of this could have been avoided. He should have spoke to each of the convicts personally, and normally he is supposed to keep prisoners like those under his personal control. Recently, more than 2,000 residents of the Lisnovka village in the Almaty region were evacuated due to the high risk of floods. The overflowing river of Usek has almost washed away the local dam. The next report from the emergency area has more details. Jarkent city, along with 4 suburban settlements, are under the high flood risk. The abundant rainfall, which is not typical for this time of year in southeastern Kazakhstan, has caused the increase of the water level in the region's 5 rivers: Usek, Khorgos, Chizin, Tishkan and Burhan. For 20 days, the residents of Panfilov district are struggling with water disaster. On Tuesday, the dam on the largest river of Usek near Lisnovka village was washed away. According to local authorities, the draining capacity of the construction is 300 cubic meters per second. However, the water level has exceeded the limit by 80 cubic meters. Nothing like this was registered here over the last 50 years. In general, Lisnovka didn't sustain any damages. None of the houses were flooded, but the risk was high. Only 3 backyards were covered with water. Some of other settlements in the danger area were not hit at all, as we fought back the water. The entire local population was mobilized to cope with the emergency. On Wednesday, the villagers returned home. 17 units of machinery, 3 specialists of Kazakh flood security and local population are engaged in the emergency elimination process. The authorities ensure that the risks are gone as the Usek River water level has dropped. In the meantime, the weather forecast specialists say that the Almaty region will experience another dose of heavy precipitation within this week. Another emergency was reported on Wednesday in the municipal water treatment facility of the Karaganda region, where 60 kilos of liquid chlorine leaked out from a container. The chlorine leak accident occurred in Karaganda on Wednesday at 5 in the morning. The entire personnel of the municipal treatment plant, which is 63 people, was immediately evacuated and the nearby highways shut. The chemical is used to purify the water. The accident was registered by the machines and sounded the alarm, after which we used radio communication to announce the emergency. Later, the water shield in the storehouse was automatically activated and the poison was flushed into canalization system. The management of the plant refuses to comment on the accident. We anticipated an option like that and therefore put on oxygen masks and entered the warehouse. Then we understood what happened and we saw the leak in the chlorine concentrator. Specialists are now studying the possible causes of the leak. The management of the municipal treatment facility assures that chlorine remained within the storehouse, which was confirmed by the sanitary and epidemiology experts. The work was restored 2 hours later. This was like a drill exercise. We do them often and sometimes small doses like this are used on purpose. Environment specialist Aygul Malikova says that Europe has stopped using chlorine for water treatment because this poisonous chemical is capable of transferring to gas state very easily. In order to calm down the population, it would be useful to publish the results of regular tests in the media. Meanwhile, ecologists believe the accident may have caused substantial damage to the environment. Therefore, the commission, which will examine the matter, should be composed of not only authorities but also representatives of public organizations and specialists.
The ex-leader of the Aktubinsk branch of the Azad National Social Democratic Party, Aydos Sadikov, could be sentenced to 5 years in jail, as the investigators have requalified the charges against him.
In addition to the accusations of hooliganism, Sadikov now faces new charges of resisting police actions. Interestingly, this was added after Sadikov submitted complaints to the Regional Prosecution Office. The case is now examined by the court and the preliminary hearing is scheduled for later this week. Meanwhile, 2 appeals of Sadikov about the physical abuse by the police officers are still ignored. Moreover, the police are pressuring his pregnant wife. Natalia Ishanova was brought to the court for questioning, but she refused to give comments, saying she doesn't find the investigator Godlevsky to be competent enough to lead the case. The police has fabricated this case, organized a provocation, and now they are pressuring me, which makes the situation worse. I am concerned about my and my baby's health.
2 protest actions took place in Almaty on Wednesday. Activists of the Housing for People movement rallied in hope of getting some help in solving their problems, but as a result, several of them were arrested by the authorities.
Stop lying to us. More than 80 members of the Housing for People movement held a rally scheduled a week ago in front of the Almaty office of the ruling party Nuratan. However, the Almala district prosecutor found the protesters' posters illegal and issued a command to detain the action participants. As a result of resistance, 3 movement activists were arrested. Later, a woman who introduced herself as the leader of the Finance Specialist Association invited the rally organizers to the conference hall to meet with representatives of 5 Almaty banks. The moment, however, was lost as activists were already outraged and demanded to release their arrested comrade. We will not go anywhere until our people will be released. The next demonstration was held 1.5 hours later in front of the Kazakhstan office. The mortgage loaners demanded to seize the confiscation of their only property through courts. We want to see the bank's representative. The protesters have simply ignored the call of the Bostandik district deputy prosecutor to stop their rally. Later, the bank security officer proposed only 3 activists to meet with the bank's management. However, protesters rejected the proposal, offering the leadership of the financial institution to first get acquainted with their demands. The dialogue between clients and bank representatives is scheduled for June 24th.